Thank you. Considering all my grandchildren, everybody's been growing up.
Right there.
The architect.
End of the room.
We're just getting settled. We'll get started in a minute.
Oh, sorry. It's on the table. It's all right there.
Hasn't gone away. All right. Get started. We have a quorum. Just going to start by the minutes, approving the minutes from October 20th, 2023.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Very great. They were super.
All right. And then the minutes from October 23rd, 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. I think we're done with chapters 1 through 4. We kind of wrapped up chapter 5 last time, so just wanted to go over the calendar. So available dates of December. Rebecca, you have a maybe to be determined on the 5th of December. You have Nancy, yes?
Is that a Tuesday?
Yeah.
I have to take my dad in the city, so I just don't know.
That's fine. I'm just trying to just sort out.
What day do you want right now?
I'm looking at the December calendar.
Yeah.
Just the potential dates, and then I just have to get Sean's schedule, and then I'll be able to have a better
It's in
understanding.
the morning, so that would be at 6:30, so I'm probably like a 90% yes.
That's Tuesday the 5th?
Mhm.
I can't be here.
Yeah, I have you as a note
Oh, okay.
already.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's okay for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one where it's like if Rebecca could definitely be there, then we definitely have a quorum. I'm just trying to sort out what other days, I need Sean's schedule, so that was just one to figure it.
So right now, our next meeting is
The 30th.
the 30th, and then
Yeah.
hopefully the 5th.
And then hopefully the 5th.
Okay.
All right, and then the other thing that Coco sent out was the possible schedule for the new year for 2024. And so we kind of have two options. The first one is the fourth Monday of every month at 6:30. And then the other option is the second Friday of every month at 6:30. So I don't know if one works better than the other. I know we've been doing Mondays historically, so I don't know if that is better for people.
Maybe one of basketball games.
Excuse me, Meg, can I interrupt one moment? I've never done this before, but I printed the wrong agenda, so we
Oh,
have to approve the right minutes. It's a mistake.
that makes sense.
That explains my confusion.
I was looking at the November minutes, I was just gonna say something, but I was like, I'm so late, I'm just flustered.
I've only worked for 3 years, I'm
It's
sorry.
okay, Coco. No, I've had a week all day, so my brain's working at half speed, so I'm like,
That's all right. The date is November 27th.
all right, so
The minutes, okay, it's just the agenda that was.
confusing. So, we're gonna circle back and approve the minutes for November 16th of 2023. All in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was like, I have these minutes. I'm like, but I thought I had pulled it out of my folder and it was just sitting there. All right. So, yeah, so the meeting dates for next year, you don't have to answer today. You can let us know on the 30th what works, but whichever dates
We're
work
gonna stay
better
up
for you?
I won't be here on the 30th, so I'll say the fourth Monday.
Fourth Monday? Okay.
I'd be inclined to go with the Monday too.
Okay.
I won't be missing, if we go on Mondays, I won't be here for the February or the March meeting.
Oh. You'd be here the other days though?
Yes, I'll be gone February and March.
Okay.
But you won't be here for Friday those days either.
Well, the February 9th I would be here for.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, you gained me by one day going to Fridays.
So we can look at that again. I'll get information from Sean and yours. Now, here we go. The sixth day. Chapter 6. So we pretty much went through all the comments on chapter 5 last time. So now we're going to go on to chapter 6 and start that review. So chapter 6 is transportation. I'm going to start by going through the comments that were written on the boards. So for the goals and recommendations, the participants express some opposition to goal 6-5, which was yeah, sorry, I was. For some reason, it just looks like I have the wrong packet.
It's on and off island transportation.
Yeah. So I was going to start with just the comments that we received on the board, and I was in the wrong summary. So for the comment that vehicular traffic has grown and more transportation options are needed, especially to make it easier for people to work on the island, one of the comments we received are we really saying we don't want people to walk, we want more cars? And I don't necessarily know that that's what the goal is. I think, we would like
Could be a
safer
bus,
walking.
Or it could be a little
Shuttle
service.
Just kind of, I think, maybe expanding options for people.
There's even actually been something showing up on one of the local Facebook pages, someone actually suggesting again about some kind of like hopper vehicle transportation bus, which the chamber had brought up earlier in the year. So I think that conversation keeps circling back
Right.
in the public. What are our options out there to get people around along like the 114 quarter ferry to ferry,
Right.
through the Heights District?
Yeah.
If this area in town, builds back up again.
Well, there's also a long walk from North Ferry to South Ferry.
Yeah,
So
and
if you
people
are
do it.
trying.
That's what they were talking about, I think, in that
Yeah, they
comment was
were.
about ferry to ferry possibly. But I know one of the additional comments on that was that it had been looked into before and that the insurance was so high. But that it should be taken up by a private individual or company could try to do it.
When you end up on the South Ferry, what are you going to do there?
Well, there's a bus that does go to South Ferry.
Oh.
And then it shuttles
I
up
guess they're
through
taking
Sag
it up,
Harbor.
On a regular
Like,
basis?
In
yeah.
the morning, there's a huge number of workers, amazingly, who are walking off South Ferry. I don't know where,
What time? I never see them there.
7:30,
That's when
7:30.
I'm there, but, okay, I've never seen them.
But it's here, it's in
Yeah, sure, okay.
6-5 to explore an island jitney service. The other thing is, I just think that e-bikes are gonna change everything in a decade. The last mile, as they call it, in transportation, the problem of if you can walk over on the ferry, you just have to figure out how to get your last mile to your destination, usually a job. And I think that by calling for bike safety in this plan pretty strongly, that will
But
handle
isn't
that.
there a traffic code that says this 30-mile-an-hour thing? I mean, what do we deal about that? They can't go on a road, if it's 35, they can't legally drive on it?
Right, well, you can't be an e-bike.
Right,
So
that would have to change first before what you're suggesting.
No, I think that's a state law, is what I
Right,
think.
yeah.
So, yeah, but I think that that would happen in New
What
York.
percentage of the population would be using e-bikes?
I mean, I think a fair amount of the working class.
Maybe workers.
Yeah, yeah.
Scooters are another thing that they tend to go for, scooters or the motorized, like,
I'm heading for a trike myself,
yeah.
an e-trike.
You know, so
When I have
it's
to give up the
definitely
car.
growing. It's because people can afford that when they can't afford a car.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But all of that only exacerbates the problem that exists now on 114, which
not
is the
safe.
road is not
Absolutely.
safe for bikers and pedestrians.
Absolutely, that's why it's in here, and
And I
hopefully,
know that Jim Reed put in the letter, somewhere he submitted the letter that he had submitted to somebody upstate or wherever about getting funds for a bike path that apparently has gone nowhere.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, the state's response was it's too expensive, it's not in our budget
Right.
because of all of.
It seems to me you'd have to do a real study to see what percentage of workers would even want to use this kind of service, or, you know, whether it's cost efficient.
Jitney.
Yeah, jitney, or even, you know, having a row of e-bikes that you can rent or something, I don't know.
Bike type of thing.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
What's,
We should be reaching out to the New York State senators and pushing this through politically.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we any different than the South Side,
Right.
Well, no,
right? Their bike lane pits right up at the ferry.
That's the next move, Jay. It was just initially getting the rejection letter, then gave us, you know, the ability to move further.
in the interim, I would love to see a little ferry to ferry jitney kind of thing. In Siesta Key, outside of Sarasota, they instituted a few years ago a jitney, because the parking is terrible there at the beaches. That goes from one beach at the end of the key into town. It makes a bunch of stops all along the way. It's free, people can hop on, hop off, and it is always crowded beyond belief.
Does it run all the time?
It runs it runs when we spin it there in the winter. I don't know how late it runs at night. But, I mean, if a little place like that can make it something that happen, I can't, even if we charged $1, I mean, to defray insurance costs. I mean, this just seems like we're a no-brainer, and by encouraging more people to drive, we're just on the wrong side of the planet at this point in time.
Where's our MTA money going?
You know?
That I'm not sure of.
Right, it's another thing we're contributing to and
We're not
we're not
getting-
receiving any services out of.
Yeah.
Who's a representative for the town?
On,
Chris Lewis used to be.
on what,
The
transportation?
MTA Transportation Board.
I don't know, I just don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah.
That's a good question, Jay.
If you don't have one, you should sign.
But, you know, goal 6.1, just to say, goal 6.1 is pursue grant funding to develop a dedicated bicycle lane on Route 114. So we're pretty here, you know, I mean, start with 114 and maybe grow it, but
That's gonna take a lot of time and a lot of money.
Yeah.
And a lot of disruption.
yes, yes,
In the
yes.
interim, I cannot see why we can't repurpose one of those buses that's sitting
Oh,
in the
yeah.
senior center.
I think we should have both. I mean, I don't think.
Oh, yes, but
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
is a low-hanging fruit and one is not.
Yeah, right, right. Right.
What was the opposition to the passenger-only launch from Greenport early morning?
Bridge and Stella spoke to me at the open house about that, and it was a good observation, which is you're changing something fundamental about Shelter Island when you do that, which is you cannot get off or on this island certain hours, that this really does close up, you know, pulls up the drawbridge and we become isolated. And so tread carefully was the recommendation on their part, and also let's not eat North Ferry's lunch. That being said, I'm like, well, this would be off hours and it wouldn't be ferry sized, it would be launch size, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, and I just mentioned from my point of view, I would use it to get to an airport, you know, to get to
To get to the jitney, because at 4:40 you can't get.
there.
You know, you have to wait until 8 to take a jitney.
Yeah, so from town dock to, you know, Greenport dock, why not explore it? And
Yeah, I mean, it
would
wouldn't
not be a
be-
government function, it would be, have to be something worthy that
Yeah.
a private entrepreneur would
And
like
that's,
to
I
do.
guess, the big question again, what would the use justify it?
Right, and how much you have to charge.
Yeah.
You know,
And who does it benefit?
but it's there as an exploration,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think some of their confusion too was that they thought we were gonna try to use the ferry in some fashion.
Yeah.
That wasn't really the thought, it was to use the town landing.
Yeah.
or one of the town docks, something like that.
Good.
So,
And just a stop sign at Simpson, that's fine.
we need to replace the stop sign at Simpson.
Lanes we've
Bike
discussed.
lanes, we understand, speed cameras for safety and revenue creation. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't think you need that in the comp plan.
No,
I think you need that in a police department seeing that that's a necessity, because they're getting a lot
I
of,
think the speed trailer that they have does have the capability to do that.
does it? I don't know.
It says
Yeah.
your speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if they see a need, I'm sure they would come to the,
So that's a community policing device.
yeah, yeah.
Traffic and parking studies required before any expansion or change of use for commercial development or operations. We kind of have that recommendation in the economy chapter when it comes to design guidelines. That includes parking guidelines. Make New York Avenue one-way. That's been considered before. It has to be one-way for the fire department to go
Out,
out.
right.
So it's been considered.
It's been one way at some point in this town's lifetime.
Yeah.
What would it be?
I mean, I'm not so sure you couldn't really get some sidewalk in there anyway. I mean, there's a way to do it.
It had a sidewalk for years, it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's be on the ice pond side, all the way along their whole way. You have to move a couple telephone poles and maybe a tree has to come out, but.
That would be a
for the most
great
part, I think you
idea.
can get it.
It's a lot of people walk there.
Yeah.
It's a very.
Jim is working, Jim Colligan, which actually Jim might be the transportation person.
Uh-oh.
Amber Alert?
It's a public safety alarm. Southern County. Does anybody else get that?
No, but can you tell us what it is?
Wireless callers with an issue dialing 911 following prompts.
See,
Oh.
I have zero service, which is why I didn't get it, which is why I would probably have trouble dialing.
What is that supposed to mean? I mean, we all supposed to freak out here?
If you try and call 911 and having trouble, they're saying call this number.
Oh,
Maybe there's a
Maybe somebody hacked into Suffolk again.
God.
So Jim Colligan probably is
So, yes.
transportation. He's working on the footpath on New York Avenue with
Right.
the heights.
To go from the four-way stop
Yeah,
all the way to, like First Bridge.
yeah,
It would go all the way that area.
yeah.
It
Good.
would go through the woods, from the four-way through the woods, along the ice pond, and down by the pond. So on the inside, not the roadside, but on the inside, it would be a walking path. Then it would go all the way through where they used to have.
There used to be a path there, or there, I mean, there's technically a right of way.
Right.
Yes, so it's essentially using that right of way and making it more of a designated path.
That's a great idea.
So that's
In the
already.
1890s, it went from the Four Corners there up the hill to where Danny Calabros is on that. And it also went from the same front quarters all the way up and down to the beach. That was 1890s.
Yeah.
Changes.
So when they just redid the most recent paving and restriping, they narrowed the stripe lane. So it looks like there is, because it was painted to 12 plus feet, the lane. So they narrowed it and it looks like you do have more shoulder there now.
Yeah, yeah.
So we are working on a walking path for New York Avenue. Even if it doesn't go one way. More bike traffic safety measures, we understand that. E-bikes are increasing and there's already state regulations in place for e-bikes. But I do think we need to kind of boost education on wearing helmets and what the laws are. You know, what roads you should and shouldn't ride them on. Narrow streets, consider limited parking to one side or the other in these areas. Sidewalks, bike lanes, allow public bus across the island, so it's another one for the shuttle. Bushes and trees around stop signs and blind curves to prevent accidents. So we've already started addressing that
Yeah.
with highway this year.
And we passed the,
Yeah.
a law
Right.
to address that. But here, it's here in chapter 6 and recommendation number goal 6.3, address maintenance of vegetation along roadways. So it's here. Okay.
Oh, and Jim Colligan's the liaison for transportation. And we're just tilting. Alright, so then we have adopting complete streets policy, and there's the question, what does this mean? So I think we just have to
Let's see, let's go to that.
make sure we define it better. 6-1.
Well, it kind of says what it is in the first sentence. Complete street policy requires the town to consider the convenience and mobilities of all users when developing transportation projects on local roads. So it's the idea that just cars are not to be dominant in the evaluation and project planning and study of transportation options. So I think that it is defined, and if anybody wanted to know more, they could Google.
Right.
Okay,
There's a link right there.
right, oh, there it is, you're right,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the second paragraph really spells it out a little bit better, too.
yes.
Yeah.
Complete street may include sidewalks, bike lanes. There you go,
Yeah, so I think we're good with that.
there.
Consider island-wide speed limit of 30 miles per hour to ensure safety of all street users, essential for safety of pedestrians, cyclists, and runners. I mean, that will all get taken into account with a traffic study. So if we do a traffic study, that would address it, yeah. I mean, because you have to look and see if it's gonna cause other issues, slow down traffic too much, is it gonna cause more congestion?
Just in case.
Things like that. Yes. So that is something that we have in here. Consider lowering the speed limit. Do an overall island study of all roads on the island should be done to determine the speed limit to each individual road based on use road conditions. Consider other roads, not just 114, but Midway, Shore Road, and other roads. 114 is not only one. So when it comes to assessing speed, look at all the roads, which is what would happen if we did that study.
And it's in here to even consider an island-wide 30 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Some could be less.
Right. And then goal 6.2 is identify and facilitate traffic flow and improve the efficiency of roadway network. So some of the comments were with this one to also look at the Orient Ferry impact, charge the bridge people more. They don't spend money here and wear out the roads and speed. I don't know how you would determine what a bridge person is.
Yeah.
Needed a traffic study, impact of Orient Ferry, how many bridge vehicles, alternate route for them. Well, the alternate route for bridge vehicles is to go all the way around and through Riverhead, so that's not gonna happen.
The only way you could determine that is if there was one ferry company
Right.
bought a ticket for both ferries at the same place, but since that's not the case, it's impossible.
Yeah. And then another one for bike lanes, especially on Menantic Road.
That was, this idea too of charging, but I don't think you're actually allowed to do that, based on what your purpose is, that you could charge more. I think the only thing we could do is surge pricing, that sort of thing. But again, the Heights said that you'll get not only the bridge traffic, yes, you'll get those people, but you'll get the people who are coming here to work. And the people who are coming here to sightsee, and because they're coming at the popular times and leaving at the popular times, and it's not as straightforward.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll be as effective,
Yeah.
because then you'll just end up with traffic all day.
Yeah. There you go.
All right.
Okay.
More support for bike lanes, another one for bus service,
Yeah.
make New York Avenue one-way. Speed limit. sidewalk between the school and the IGA.
So extend that sidewalk.
Extend, yeah, have sidewalks between, I think we have that listed as a place for sidewalks.
Right,
Is between the IGA and the center of town.
yeah.
So many school kids are walking up and down there every day, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
the road's wide enough in most places, but it's still would be nice. You watch a young mother walking along there with a carriage,
Yeah.
and she's got a little child with her, it's dangerous. So
Yes.
we have-
Especially if the kids are going like early in the morning.
Yes.
It's
So-
dusk or dawn, it's hard to see. And it's also a little dangerous because a lot of those the grassy part is actually a hill. So
Right.
you step
Yeah.
on it, you slip your ankle, and you go under a car, that.
Yep.
Just, worst case scenario, my brain's tired, it goes there, it's like, oh gosh. Like, that would be terrible.
But it would be a great place to have a sidewalk.
It would be, yeah, it'd be a nice spot.
You know, when they were designing the road, the current board or whoever didn't want the sidewalks and all that.
The current board at that time. Yeah, yeah.
They felt it would be too suburban or not rural enough, yeah.
Or encourage people,
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but
Encourage people to walk.
I guess, bike or something.
Well, you know, you got things now, you have things now like the car charging thing. So someone can charge their car and walk to IGA,
IGA.
walk to, go get some cash, go get their mail and do all of those things. If you pay enough time, if you sit on your phone in the car and watch people, you watch all these things happen.
Yeah,
So more and more as we go into the future, we might have more spots where there are charging stations and people doing those things. And therefore sidewalks become what we need.
and that would also help revitalize that whole down.
Revitalize the
center.
whole center of
Yeah.
town.
yeah.
Yeah, and also like with the library, with their renovations, if more people are using the library, and you may want more walking spaces, because people will go there, they'll, do all
And
their
there'll be
errands.
two EV chargers there.
Yeah.
That's it. Installing charging down at IGA.
They're doing that, or they're.
We should think about
Good
it.
idea.
Talk to them about it, because
High-speed
they have enough
charging.
space for it, that's for sure.
Are the ones we have now level 3 chargers? That's the high-speed one.
Yeah,
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think so.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it went
We
in
have it in the Shaman charging.
3-4 years ago.
Oh, those are level, yeah, that's
Fifteen,
high-speed.
Rivian.
That would be high-speed then. You
Yeah.
can do it in 15 minutes.
15 minutes for a half hour.
Yeah, that's fast.
It's your shortest walk there is less than, I mean, I think you'd have to take a long walk. 15 minutes. It's short there, right? Sorry.
No, it wouldn't be. Okay. Monitor air traffic and address regulations as needed, eliminate seaplanes. So their recommendation is just to eliminate seaplanes altogether. I think we have the restriction to outside waters, not letting them land and take off in inside waters. Because once they're on the water, they're a vessel, like a boat. But if they're taking off and landing on inside waters, they're already breaking the speed limit. And it's just dangerous in
Now
them.
that property at the end of Crescent Beach is being developed with a home, I'm not sure if that homeowner is going to enjoy seaplanes coming and going from their beach. The public beach, which starts at the old chain link fences, may be one thing, but the town really doesn't provide a seaplane landing spot there.
It's a big house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Maybe it's gonna be an airport.
Where is that?
right at the bottom of the hill where just across from the bathrooms or further bathroom.
Oh,
The
Yeah,
big
that's
house,
the big-
12,000 plus square foot house.
oh, is that mammoth thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the.
That's where
That's their, his front yard is where the planes typically come in there or sort of in that general.
They'll complain about
It's
that.
called cement, there was a seaplane base there, had a ramp and everything, cement base. And
I think it's
seaplane.
still there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So air and seaplane access restrictions are discussed in chapter 8, so when we get there, we can talk about that, okay?
Okay. Regulate Shelter Island taxi for more affordable flat rates, similar to Block Island. I mean, it's a private business. I don't think it's, we don't.
If it's,
Subsidize it somehow and
Right.
require service.
we can let capitalism work, maybe, if it's that lucrative, somebody will go in and cut the rates a little and,
Or we can do the shuttle thing and then become competitive. There's options. Improve both on and off island transportation options, consider cost, demand, and impact to quality of life. And that's just their comment on that one. So.
There you go.
And then,
So that's the boards, right?
yeah, those are all the boards.
Want to go to
Should we go to
the,
the spreadsheet?
yeah, the spreadsheet.
Okay. All right, so then the spreadsheet was, the first one I have is from 23. And it was by Michael Shackton. The incidence of bridge traffic, passenger vehicles, and truck traffic has increased due to navigation systems providing alternate routes to avoid traffic. With license plate readers, it should be possible to charge bridge traffic vehicles a surcharge on ferry passage. In addition, congestion pricing on the ferry should be studied. Congestion of ferry traffic waiting on local streets causes pollution and disturbance to local streets in the Heights.
Kind of discussed it.
Yep.
The license plate reader thing, okay, it reads you coming on, it reads you going off, but does it measure how long you were there? How did you stop? You stopped at,
Right.
I don't know, that'd be a completely unfair
Does a
way.
cup of coffee count? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
$1.50, something.
You deduct the 5 minutes for stopping at Ellie's to get coffee on
Yeah.
the South
It's
Ferry.
a lottery ticket,
That one's just, I think that's a challenge.
yeah.
The next one is from 920, and that's the North Ferry has 2 loading docks, not 3 on the Shelter Island side, so that's a correction. That one.
It had 3. It had 3.
It had 3, now they just use the one to store the boat. The next one is from 923. Ferry numbers have nearly doubled since the last comprehensive plan was written. It's about time we put together a comp plan that reflects the significant changes reflected by those numbers. And then a 30-mile-per-hour island-wide speed limit to me is absurd and virtually unenforceable. Our police do a great job keeping things in check. For problem areas, like for instance, St. Mary's Road, additional enforcement might be necessary.
Well, I think the 30 is also, the suggestion is do the transportation study, do the traffic study. And if that's an inexpensive way, 30 miles an hour, to make streets safer in the absence of bike lanes and sidewalks, maybe that's what you do. I don't think it's absurd, nor do I think it's unenforceable. Speed limits are enforceable.
It's most likely going to be based on the crash data and accident data.
Yeah, exactly. If you see those trends
don't have a
going
lot.
up,
Our pedestrian incidences, we've had one
Yeah.
in recent years, there's really not that much driving this. There's a concern, I mean, I've been not clipped, but people come by me on my bike or I'm walking, I'm heading for the hills trying to get off the road, but, that type of thing goes on, but I can't say that's.
yeah. But I think that it's not a bad thing to keep in here. That's-
Yeah. Well, I think we've actually had more instances of people injuring themselves on their e-bikes without any assistance injuring themselves than we have had like car e-bike collisions or even, we've had a few car accidents where people were either intoxicated but that's everywhere. It's not necessarily the traffic that's causing it.
Right. Or the
People's
speed.
behavior choices or speed, as imprudent speed. I think I'm up for that one. Okay, so the next one is from 926. Yes, our roads are shared by multiple users, cars, bikes, joggers. The summary of key findings states roadway safety remains a priority, yet the draft plan completely fails to mention the most dangerous user of our roadways. And that's the landscape trucks and trailers who regularly park not on the shoulder, but right on the road, only a foot or 2 from the yellow line. They seem to think that just because they put their flashers on or set out traffic cones that they're immune to traffic code. Traveling north on South Midway from Tar Kettle to Smith Street today, I encountered 3 parked landscape trailers completely on the road, 2 on my side and 1 on the oncoming lane. I stopped and literally had to blindly inch around them as sight in both lanes was completely obstructed. I called the police to report the hazard. This is what sparked me to write this email. It's about the fourth or fifth time I've had this encounter. Other times they were parked on the bend on South Midway near Tar Kettle and once at the top of Little Ram. I'm a very defensive driver and being forced to blindly go into oncoming traffic is nerve-wracking. I've been lucky so far, but someday someone's going to get killed. This would be tragic, especially since the town seems aware of the problem. I strongly encourage the conference plan to be modified to address this potentially deadly problem. So
Is that an enforcement issue though, or, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think it's a policy.
it's a legitimate
Partly
complaint.
mechanical, where there's no space to pull vehicles off out of the road. People have, like, on the Midway area, there's a lot of shrubbery right to the asphalt, and there's no place to park. And there's no shoulder, it's steep on the sides.
So this ties in.
Maybe it's more reclaiming town right-of-ways
That 50-foot right of way.
and,
The town
and getting the guys off. And a lot of people don't want vehicles parked on the grass.
Tough nuggies.
Yeah,
They put rocks out there, they put those
Peter, this drives
sticks
me
and-
crazy.
yeah, especially on a curve, yeah,
On
or
the
a
curve,
hill.
at the Midway going down to Wades, there's.
Very dangerous.
It's dangerous to begin with. Midway, the other stretch of Midway from Tar Kettle on always has a trailer or two parked there.
Yeah.
I think we reclaim, have to, and if somebody's getting landscaping services, they're responsible for having provided
Park it in front of your
parking.
house.
Yeah, I mean, they could, park in the driveway.
I think every citizen needs to call when they see it. Call the police and say this is just not safe.
But maybe some kind of educational program to get that word out would be a good idea, especially to the people that, and we know who does the landscaping on the island.
And I think reclaiming the shoulders also so that there's more space to pull off the road is.
I thought somewhere we talked about reclaiming shoulders.
Yes, we do.
Somewhere about, in here.
It is here,
Address
Rebo.
that.
Yeah.
It's in here, and I know that the highway department started doing just that. To the chagrin of some people.
Goal 6-3.
Yes, it's goal 6-3. All right, so then the next one I have is from 1013, and the ferry, it's just corrections for page 73. The ferry crossing takes 8 minutes, and North Ferry, the boat arrives every 10 to 15 minutes, and it has 2 landings.
Dawson Bridge.
Yeah. And the exploration of a passenger-only ferry during off hours should consider the quality of life aspect of additional late night and early morning traffic. So, those are from Bridge.
I'm still just not sure how people walking on or off would be a traffic issue.
Right.
One of the issues is gonna be parking
Right.
at North Ferry, which is scarce.
Or if they park there at Pecosi's Dock, because that's a town landing there, if that's where the ferry would land, there's no parking there either.
At all, right?
You have to park on the seawall.
That's not town land, right? That's not public. Oh, you mean over on the other side, yeah,
Or also where you would park.
yeah,
Everything else is regulated by the hour,
yeah.
2 hours.
So, I mean, that would all have to get worked out at some point. The next one I have is from 1013, and it says, while the draft acknowledges how traffic on the island has been increasing, it omits data-centered analysis of how much more traffic certain already congested areas like Bridge Street and the Heights can bear, nor does it consider the effects of increased traffic or expended hours on the ferries and of any resulting costs that would be ultimately paid by their customers.
But isn't that basically calling for a traffic study?
It's calling for a traffic study, and we have that recommendation in here already. But that's what I get out of that, is they're looking for a traffic study.
I mean, a lot of this may have been generated by the fiasco we had late in the summer where the traffic going on the North Ferry was like lined up past the firehouse.
It was all the way up to the church, the Our Lady of the Islands.
I mean, it was out of control for a couple days. I don't know what was going on, but people couldn't get through.
And also down through Ridge Street too, they didn't know where to go.
That's right.
It wasn't organized, there were cars coming in from two different directions with no place to go.
Right.
Sometimes you'll see that if there's an accident on 39 in Southampton.
Yeah.
And they can't get by.
Yeah.
This way.
Yeah.
Okay, this is this constant refrain that we have with the comp plan. Again, I think it bears repeating, the comp plan doesn't do studies, it recommends that studies be done. So, Mr. Jacobs, that's,
And then the next one I have is 1014, and this is about the local waterfront revitalization plan. I think that was in chapter 8, though. Right? Well, I read anyway. The question is, what is it? So we'll go
The chapter.
to that chapter. It's in
Yeah.
chapter 8. The next one I have is from 1015. We should improve the shoulders of the roads so that they are an even width and clear of obstacles throughout the island for walking and bicycling safety. There are many, many roadways which have no shoulder at all, and the shoulder varies in width, and trees and shrubs are overgrown, all of which force people into the road. Many areas of the island would be suitable for sidewalks or paths on the side of the road that people could use to get around without use of a car. I also applaud the idea of complete streets as planning guidelines for our roadways. A 30-mile-per-hour speed limit is a good idea throughout the island as well. There is no reason to speed up to 40 miles per hour in a few sections of 114. It often feels like off-island cars are using the island as a highway to get to the North and South Forks. I don't think we should encourage that in any way. A bus or jitney service around the island is also a great idea. Why not allow the Suffolk County bus service to run across the island? I think the Suffolk County bus service didn't want to run across the island.
Economically not feasible for them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing preventing that,
Right.
should it be
Should
suggested.
they decide they want to do
Yeah,
that? But I think the rest of his comments have all been considered.
Yes.
The next one from 1015, bicycling infrastructure. The focus in this draft is on 114, but there are many other roads on Shelter Island where a defined shoulder, such as you see on North Cartwright, could be implemented more easily than on Route 114. These changes would help island workers who commute by bike, local residents doing errands by bike, as well as recreational cyclists, making it safer to cycle and avoiding conflicts with automobiles. In addition, the suggestion has been made to make New York Avenue one-way for autos, and that would enable an addition of a defined shoulder for cyclists and walkers. A holistic strategic view of how to improve safety for cyclists and pedestrians, informed by what other communities have done, would be a great part of this comprehensive plan. So one of the things, like when I'm reading this, that we could do is kind of come up with a map for preferred bicycle routes that have roads marked that have a larger shoulder, like Cartwright does have a wider shoulder. Some of our roads are more bicycle friendly than others, and kind of maybe highlight the ones that are.
West Neck isn't, but it's a very popular bicycle route.
Yeah, but it is narrow, it's not user friendly.
They stretch it out 4 feet. It gave us 2 feet on each side,
Yeah,
but, it's still tight.
it's still tight.
And narrow the painted lane. I mean, maybe we should put 150,000 or so into the town budget and address a certain distance of road every year and just keep moving around the island. It's probably one of the best ways to do it.
We asked the county to try to widen it as they went from the four-way up the hill down towards Louis Beach. So they did stretch that out. They made that wider. And then I don't know that West Neck necessarily, where they repaved just recently. I know they did a little bit.
There's curbs there,
Yeah.
so they can only go
They can
curb
only
to
go
curb.
so far.
Curbs.
Curbs.
Yeah, there's some curbs actually on the sides of the road. So they're only gonna go to the curb, otherwise they gotta rip all of it out and go
Trying to figure out where there's a curb on West Neck.
from New York to Sunset Beach almost, or up that road. There's curbs on both sides, curbs on both sides of the road. I think over the series of pavings, it's come up to the curb, but the curb was there.
No?
Yeah.
See it now, but okay, yeah, I take your word for it.
At some point it stops there, but there were curbs up there.
Yeah. So every time the county comes and does work on their roads, we ask them to try to widen them as much as they can. Helps a little bit.
I just want to add that when it comes to widening the road in that particular area, you're going to run up against the SQA installations of meters, which is probably between the property owner and the street, so.
Yeah, that's gonna be a problem with that strip of west.
Yeah,
that leads
just
all the way
saying,
down
it's
into-
relatively small, but still, it's a,
Is the,
Yeah.
yeah. The new metering is on the curb side, so makes it hard.
But maybe just putting the white line in would help.
Yeah, just making a definitive shoulder.
And keeping it up, maintaining it, right?
You know, the problem is you plow it off every year.
Yeah.
Scrape that off.
Yeah.
Now, how much it cost to put all that painting down?
No, I have no idea, big.
Brian told me 400,000,
whoa,
paint all the lines.
Expensive.
Wow,
Well, this was thermal paint they put down,
Yeah.
like the plastic paint.
yeah,
So it's supposed to last a little bit longer, but,
it's a big number on a budget our size.
yeah, we didn't pay for it, so.
I agree, the best way would be to like budget reasonable amount each year and just systematically work on it. You're not going to get the whole thing done.
Every 4 years, you get a paint, yeah.
No, but even moving around the island, widening some of the
Yeah.
important roads.
Yeah.
They probably get a couple miles on, 150,000.
Yeah.
And that also could lead to educating the cyclist groups, what are the best roads to go on so they don't end up on these curvy, kind of dead man roads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something we can work on. For the next one, it was on 1015, goal recommendation 5-6, improve both on and off island transportation options. And that's the one about passenger shuttle. And it says, this is a solution in search of a problem. You should live somewhere else if you need 24-hour access to the mainland. How would this be paid for? Where would the ferry be docked? And what percentage of the island population does this serve?
This is not a helpful comment.
Well, no one has suggested 24 hours, so.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's kind of that alarmist.
Somewhere else if you want to catch an 8:30 plane out of JFK. Okay. Thanks, that was helpful. I think this is safely ignored.
So that's the last of the chapter 6 ones I have in this chart. So now, let's see, are there emails? Yes. So I have emails from, should we go to the Heights first?
Sides.
These are these are the same ones that we keep going back to. So I have the one from the Heights. The October 13th.
I'd be curious if there's any new points that they're making, because I'm sure they're raising a lot of the points we've just gone over.
Right.
Yeah.
You can probably go pretty fast. It's several.
So then the first one from them, it's item number 14, page 2 there. Document, and it says the perception regarding speeding is a reality. The flashing speed signs on New York Avenue have the data to support the reality. So people speed. On page 68, please add that the Heights own 6 miles of road. If you're listing Deering Harbor stats, include the Heights as well. Okay. Bridge will provide updated facts and figures regarding North Ferry. All right, got that one. There are limitations and unique situations related to a historic district's ability to widen roads and accommodate complete streets.
Well, I think that that's just a fact.
Right. And that would be taken into
Yeah.
account in the whole complete
It's not
streets
like,
process.
the comp plan can overrule a historic district, it's just a fact.
Yeah. Chapter 6, please, please clearly state that the heights will remain at 25 miles per hour. Well, the goal isn't to increase speed limits, it's to decrease speed
Right.
limits, so.
Well, you could even have a statement that's current speed limits under 30 will remain.
Right.
I guess they're concerned if we move it to like 35,
Right.
they would go with us.
Say island-wide,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, in locations where the speed limit is under proposed 30, it would remain.
So it's saying consider an island-wide speed limit of 30, so it consider an island-wide speed limit not to exceed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a way of wording it too.
And that's covered, they can be 25.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That's good.
I like that. Please include the Heights in discussions pertaining to North Ferry traffic or the Heights Commercial District. Limiting on-street parking in choke areas must be weighed against already insufficient parking for merchants and residents during peak season. Safety is of utmost importance. I don't think that'll be a problem. I think when we start doing the traffic studies, we'll include the Heights. A launch is not to start. It requires license and fare approval from Suffolk County, as well as landings on both sides. It is also very expensive to manage a launch service. Is there enough demand to support this request? Most important, an early morning or late night launch could erode Heights' quality of life as cars will be traveling in traditionally off hours. Bridge will elaborate under a separate cover.
We beat this up already because it's passenger, it's not cars, you know.
You'd have to do a study to see if it was really cost efficient anyway.
See if it's even feasible. Existing and potential sewer districts.
No, that's-
Next one.
Oh, that's the wrong chapter. Ha, okay. Okay, that's 7. So then the other comment I had for chapter 6 is from Sean. And his comment is more of a language comment, so on page 71. No, it was an email we received from him. I'll read it. Yeah. Given the inconsistent funding stream for paving projects and the perceived lack of public support for increasing the $132,000 budget line for paving, his comment is the public either supports it or it doesn't.
We don't know.
So,
That's why it's a perception. Do you know, we don't do
Right.
polls here. So, and the budget doesn't, and people don't vote on the budget line by line.
right.
But the perception is that we keep taxes low.
Mhm.
You know, we do our best to limit. So
Yeah.
that's where that comes from. I don't think it's a bad thing to keep in there, but
So is that money that's above the chips?
that's our taxpayer dollar.
Towns is putting in
32,000. It's kind of stayed the same, you know, for a long time now, I think. Maybe since Darby days.
Right, so when I was paving, I think the price per ton was like 80 some dollars per ton.
Yeah,
And it's some hundred and something now,
yeah,
right? So you're not even getting anywhere near what you were getting
no.
5 years ago.
So you're saying that, you know, just by, yeah,
You're going backwards.
right, exactly, losing ground.
Well, and I feel like that's something that we can change with the traffic study when we have a plan on how to actually tackle the issue, then we can go and fund the issue.
Right, so here's the
It's
problem.
easier.
You still have to go back to the state. State collects 68 cents a gallon at least for tax.
Yeah.
We're supposed to see some of it back in chips, and I'm sure that Pecosi's is collecting well more than we're getting back in chips.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So our residents are probably paying more at the pump for tax than we're getting back in chips.
Oh,
Sort of like New York State to Washington DC versus, I don't know, Alabama.
Right, you have to,
They get far more than they chip in.
I mean, you gotta take the ride up and sit down with them.
Yeah. And then the next one is the funding stream for road paving is consistently inconsistent. He says just cross out the consistently and just have it be inconsistent. Fair. I think that makes sense.
It's a pretty simple calculation. It's the number of roads divided by 18 to 20,
Yeah.
and then times the tonnage that you need. That's what you need to have in the budget. And a combination of CHIPS, budget, grant money, or however you're gonna do it, that's what needs to be in the budget.
Right, right.
Otherwise, you are gonna spend way more money.
Right. That makes sense.
But those specific budget decisions are to be made by the town board at the time.
And if you're gonna widen roads, that's where it's gotta come from.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can't even talk about widening roads. We can't even pave what we got.
Right. Well, if it's in here, you know, I'd like to say to widen roads, to make them safer and bike and pedestrian friendly. If it's in here as a suggestion, then at least
A goal.
it has to be considered.
Goals,
Yeah.
not suggestions.
Not as-
Goals.
Say town board, you have to consider this. You know, whether or not you do it is still a town board decision. Yeah, yeah,
Goals.
right, goals.
Be firm.
Be firm.
If that goal is prioritized, we decide we need a bond issue of $5 million. We want to get all our roads and streets, we want bicycle paths, and the public decides we'll vote for this because
Yep.
we believe in it. That's what we want, then, hey, go for it. $100 a ton, $120 a ton,
Right, that's what I
get
think,
paving.
yeah.
Do that.
I think if you put together the Complete Streets program, like John says, put together a bonded project like that, I think you'll see the grant money show up with a project like
Right.
that. And then, maintenance again going down the road isn't as bad.
Right. I agree. So actually, Sean's next comment comes back to the e-bike thing we were talking about earlier. So it says, consider an island-wide speed limit of 30 miles per hour to ensure the safety of all street users. So that's our recommendation. And he says, the current New York State law limits e-bikes and scooters to roads of 30 miles per hour or less. Lowering speed limit to 30 miles per hour would allow e-bikes on most of the island unless local law is added to further restrict them.
It should be added to that goal. Like, in other words, not only does it make it safe, street with 30 miles an hour theoretically make it safer, but it will also enable the use of roads by all the roads, right?
Is that enforced, that rule?
They have been enforcing it more. I know that there have been some tickets given to
Yeah.
people who were going on roads that weren't 30 miles per hour with e-bikes.
But in my experience as a driver, watching the way some of the e-bike users use their bikes, they're not going by bicycle laws or automobile laws. They're
Right.
doing whatever they want. And that's a challenge. They're becoming a risk to people who are driving. They'll cut across between two cars at an intersection and don't stop at stop signs. I mean, they're moving much faster than a guy on a bike.
Well, which also makes it hard to judge whether or not it's safe to pass them, because it's hard to tell how fast they're going.
What they're gonna do.
That's right.
Exactly, and what they're gonna do.
I'd be surprised if most of them aren't inexperienced cyclists.
Yeah.
Right,
They've just found a way that, they don't actually have to pedal.
exactly. That's most of it, I think. And, some of what I'm reading in Sean's comment here is, is it a good idea, to allow e-bikes everywhere? Do we, that's the question. Do we want to regulate
I
that?
wrote that back up. I asked
Do we
about
wanna
that. I said,
restrict
so,
it,
like,
or-
how bad is this? That's where it come about.
Right. I mean, as is, people use it anyway. People who have.
Well, obviously, if the use increases, then that's a better argument for real bike lanes or some kind of better control or better options for these people.
Better have more bikes and more cars.
Well, he said his comment, you could add something into local law, not, if you change the speed limit.
Right.
Do you want
I
to
mean,
put that
'cause-
in as a recommendation? Or not?
That's a good question. Well, I think the study about lowering it, if it's even feasible, would let us know.
But because maybe it wouldn't happen anyway, maybe it would be
It wouldn't hurt to have a parenthetical comment that the rules for e-bikes might be different, or, it could be
Right.
simple, just in case other people are looking at that, wondering what's going to happen.
There's right now, though, in New York State, don't they have to go by bicycle rules? Yes, no, I don't know. What are their safety requirements?
I would think they'd be the same as for a bicycle.
I would think, but, I just wonder, the way they are behaving,
Well,
observation, they're not. So I'm just wondering, again, that becomes policing
Right.
Or based on we have an accident or something like that, then we start.
But my point is, I don't think that they have any knowledge whatsoever, they just got to
They
buy.
got it by they're going on it, yeah.
Exactly.
They got it for Christmas.
Right.
Yeehaw.
I'm like a few of the mariners out there.
Yeah, I got a new boat, let's go see what it can do.
That's right.
What do you mean it doesn't park on the beach? Okay.
Just says that they have to ride single file, they have to be able to have access to bike paths as if they were a bike without a motor.
I have an e-bike, but it's assisted, so like I
Right.
can just turn it off and pedal it. You know, I mean, it doesn't give me any juice unless I pedal. There's no throttle.
But then there's other ones that have like little scooters,
Yeah.
motorized
Yeah.
bicycles
Yeah.
that go 35, 40 miles an hour. It's terrifying. Especially if you don't have your helmet on, wear your helmet.
Jeez, scary.
No helmet thing gets me. Okay, so then his other comment was, for the monitor air traffic and address regulations as needed. He says, current code on helicopters, all takeoffs and landings of helicopters are prohibited within the unincorporated area of town of Shelter Island, except at the private airstrip located at Westmoreland Farm, and only then with owner's permission. So,
This also came up though, and not to be, you know, I don't think that this needs to be specific. Yes, monitor this, because there were reports of a helicopter that took off and landed from a yacht off of Louis Beach. And so, does that happen once? Okay, we don't need to move heaven and earth to regulate that, but monitor that. I mean, so that's kind of what this is saying.
I don't think you're gonna see that any longer. I think that gentleman passed away.
Oh, wow. Oh. And there won't be another.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see that again.
Yeah, but you know, to just say that the guy who wanted to anchor a barge out there and have that be a helipad
Shaman can have a helipad.
helipad on that and a shuttle to launch.
There's no helipad in the Shaman.
No, it would have been in state waters, 150,
Away from.
1,500
near
feet.
1,500 feet off of.
Sure,
Yeah.
but so that's what this is saying that, and seaplane traffic, it's not at a total point yet, but keep an eye on it, because it might come to a point where we do need to regulate it.
Well, the more our neighbors regulate it, the more it gets pushed into our area. So that's what's been happening.
Why would we wait till it becomes a problem to try to get the cat back in the bag? Why wouldn't we pass,
I agree.
I mean, as you said, if our South Shore neighbors are restricting it, it's gonna move this way. Once we
They're
get-
gonna wanna
once-
go where there's less restrictions.
Yes, once they're here, it's gonna be hard
Be
to,
better to be consistent around the entire area,
Yes.
north and North Forks.
Yeah, and it does say explore eliminating seaplane activities in all inland waters and restricting takeoffs and landings to outside waters.
Can't we just say no?
Can we just
Get
say
rid
no?
of, get rid of limiting, say
Sorry, I
no.
don't really, I'm not.
Let's make that our recommendation.
Well, I would find out what East Hampton does, Southampton, if they say no, I
Right.
think it makes sense to say no too.
But we don't always have to look to our neighbors all the time.
No, but it's the consistency, I think, is
Yeah.
the key.
Well, also looking and seeing what they're doing, because what they do is gonna have an impact on us. So like if Southold completely bans seaplane traffic, then it's
Oh, they're
gonna
gonna
come
definitely-
here and then they're
Yeah.
just gonna take a car over.
Yeah.
Or, that kind of thing has an impact on us.
During the short-term rental, if we're the only township that's not gonna regulate short-term rentals, we're gonna become
Yeah.
short-term rental
Heaven,
island.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be out there alone.
Well, and a good example was during COVID when all the other towns around us shut down their beaches
Yeah.
and ours were still open. And then we had an issue with Bootleggers Alley, we had an issue with, people coming over and we had super crowded beaches because we didn't close ours like everybody around us did.
Well,
So,
East
those things
Hampton
happen.
Code 73-1 says seaplanes prohibited, no person, firm, or corporation shall land and take off or cause takeoff, taxi, or in plane or deplane any seaplane on or from town beaches and waterways, trustee waters and beaches, town waters, town docks, or floats.
It's pretty clear.
Pretty clear.
No,
Yes, 70.
so let's just say no,
just say,
and then it's there.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for somebody to attempt it.
So I just, instead of saying explore limiting or eliminating, I just took out the explore word and I said, eliminate seaplane
you go.
activities. Like limit/eliminate. Okay, change made.
That's Sean.
And that's, I think that's the only other one I had for chapter 6 comments.
We have some from the agreement.
Oh,
Don Sidal did not have any
Right.
on the other Heights panel, but Lori has some.
let me see if I can find Lori's.
Looks like South Holt also.
They have a no seaplane to that. Do you have Lori's open, PJ? Can you start with those? I'm trying
I
to
do.
find it.
Brad briefly mentions increased island bridge traffic adding to congestion to ferry line. Consider no discounts for commercial vehicles during peak hours, question mark.
Did you say that the last time again?
Consider no discount for commercial vehicles during peak hours, question mark.
We're not considering a discount for
Yeah.
commercial vehicles on peak hours.
Yeah.
She's asking, we're doing.
Yeah, I'm not even, I don't find this clear.
Here it is.
Who's asking that?
But maybe she's trying to suggest that would,
Yeah, but what discounts,
shouldn't do that.
but what
They
discounts,
should offer a discount for off-peak.
yeah, but what discounts do they do? I mean, you know what I'm saying, what discounts are there? I mean, it almost, you know what I'm saying?
This actually relates to her comment last time we had the compound meeting where she said it's hard to interpret what people are writing.
Yeah.
They're not right here.
Right.
Are there some commercial vehicles that have certain passes that give them a discounted rate?
I didn't
Like commuter
passes for
Just saying, I didn't think that existed. So anyway, we also know that the town doesn't have a lot of weight.
We don't have sway over how the ferry regulates their pricing.
So I'm gonna.
That's-
Or that day when they're having a big pour of cement somewhere, you've got 8 cement trucks all lined up. You know, that's
Yeah.
just happened that day.
Yeah,
When the town's paving, you're gonna end up with traffic.
Right.
It's just,
you know,
They're trying to put out 1,000 tons a day.
Yeah.
A lot.
bicycle traffic to increase, bikes don't obey the law. Okay, but again, you know, that's narrow roads with parking on both sides, traffic crossing double yellow lines, that is driving down the middle of the road. Consider removing parking on one side, vehicle doors opening into traffic with cars, bikes passing. Visitor drivers driving down wrong way on one-way streets need more seasonal traffic control, parking enforcement. Need more town-wide no parking on streets during snowstorms so plows can do their work.
Remember that, though, we enforce a snow emergency.
Yeah.
We put it for bad storms, and that's not a problem.
Yeah, so I
So
just,
it seems mostly she's calling for enforcement.
yeah, yeah. it's
But
not-
also, she's not calling for on these narrow roads, something specifically in the Heights, just parking on one side only.
Yeah,
And that's here is, you
That
know,
came
Yeah, we already have that.
we have that in there as to be explored in traffic.
So do you think the people that are running the businesses want that?
No.
Well, they're not the business roads we're talking about, we're talking about the off the business main drag.
And
That's
also-
the
You
narrow
know,
streets.
it must be mentioned that this summer, there was a huge increase in the enforcement of people people parking outside the white line in the Heights.
Yeah.
They were giving out tickets for that this summer, for the first, I think, I mean, maybe they've done it in the past, but it felt very much ratcheted up this year as a way to try to control this. And if you're too wide your car to park there, then you can't park there.
So when you come around by the tennis court, they painted the white line about 2 feet off the side of the road. You have to park on the sidewalk.
Right, right.
Like,
Yeah.
where do you want me to go?
Yeah, exactly.
And the road is really wide right there.
It is right, it is, yeah.
You could have a
And
parking
that's the
lane down there
Heights.
easily. It's
Yeah, but they
tight,
didn't paint it like that.
right,
No.
but then likewise, you get down past the back of the pharmacy towards Stars, that line is very narrow anyway, and then the parking on both sides of the road there, that's really problematic, but if you take those 8 spaces out of there and make it so it's passable, where does the other cars go? And there's just no parking, so it's a real challenge.
Parking is
What's threading the needle for the hour?
Doesn't the Heights regularly ask for parking restrictions up in the Heights?
No,
To the
not that I
town?
know of. Not in my tenure here. I don't think
But they could.
They could,
I mean, I don't think they need us to do that. If they feel it's a problem, they could go do it themselves.
so. Although, it's a New York State road that when 14 through there, some
I
of
thought we
it,
were talking about off-street roads.
But the
I thought you were talking about,
yeah.
they can always request signage and things like that from the
Yeah.
town. If they wanted to change the way it's laid
Could be a
out or
discussion,
parking
yeah.
on one side versus the other.
Yeah.
They can always come to the town and request that.
So basically on this one, just that they can come as things come up, rather than trying to put this as a goal.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly, that's what I think.
I think that's probably the most efficient way for them to get it done. Road flooding, stormwater drains are not cleared out adequately or frequently. Are they sized appropriately? Car damages, property damages due to driving through flooded waters and or trying to drive around on private property are as prone to flooding areas prone to flooding should have cones, road closures during big storms immediately, need proactive safety monitoring before it becomes a hazard, not after the hazard, which residents have had to call in every time.
Well, that speaks to that flooding
I
we
think-
talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, just like we had 4 inches in 30 minutes or something insane like that, and there was massive flooding in a ton of places.
Flooding more and more.
Right.
Yeah.
Climate change, that's,
Yeah, that's the way the future people.
but the cisterns are only for 2 inches, Jay?
but the problem is the roads were never engineered when they were installed. The only new subdivisions that are going in have been engineered to handle stormwater.
Okay.
But the old roads like West Neck Road has never been engineered. And we just, or throw some dry wells in the bottom and hope. But you need to collect that water at the top.
Yeah.
You need to get many stops before it gets to the bottom to get the volume. It's just a matter of doing it.
And I think the point she does make is maintenance, is oftentimes they're just not maintained, which then leads me to the next question you see going on now is people blowing their leaves from the property into the road, they float down and then plug up cisterns.
I think most of the time the guys do a pretty good job though, cleaning from the street in and cleaning up.
Some companies do, other companies are not.
Yeah, the good guys do.
Sometimes the homeowners are guilty of that too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I shouldn't say
That's
just
the
the
problem,
people.
yeah.
I agree.
And they don't necessarily think it's always the industry, I think it's sometimes homeowners.
But it's a square footage volume area,
Right.
problem.
And it's usually, engineers, when they calculate it, it's typically a 2-inch rainfall.
Yeah, but we should probably change that number.
But we've also put curbs, like down 114, so it no longer can run into the swale that was where Liberty just put their property in, or across the street where we have the storage facility that's there. And that was all areas of collected water and a natural depression there. And that all comes down to my house, so I get flooded. Just saying.
No, but then again, should have been engineered to collect that water as it comes down. It shouldn't come from the
Absolutely,
school.
but it never was done. Yeah.
Right. But it probably shouldn't have gotten dumped onto the property in the first place. It should have been engineered.
Absolutely.
Right.
After the fact, we have to,
Yeah, but then it's got the state on it.
okay,
They're the worst.
yeah, yeah,
They're the worst.
they won't move.
No. All right, the next comment is the West Neck Road between the golf course and Behringer Lane, missing from roads prone to flooding during stormwater. So we need to add that. West Neck between the golf course and Behringer, okay.
The road between West Neck,
Where are those?
It's the West Neck down to Behringer.
oh, that valley in there? Yeah, that whole thing needs to get a ton of dry wells in there.
It has 2 right now, but it needs.
There's more than 2 in there and it's not enough. You're shedding from the Shelter Island house.
Everything around is
It's
coming
all coming to that one.
down.
Weren't they doing something there recently? Weren't they improving that area, like, I wanna say like a month ago, a couple weeks ago at least?
I think they went and cleaned them all out, and
Is
then,
that
well, they
what-
just
okay.
repaved that whole area, so
Okay.
they've fixed some of the, there was some weird sloping going on that was causing more water pooling than needed to. They've made some changes, but it's always gonna be a low point, and it's
Yeah.
the low point surrounded by high points, so all the water's gonna
Right.
come down.
But it's coming down Stearns Point and then
Yeah.
coming down the dirt road
Yeah.
Road,
and then comes down through there. So really need
Needs to
something.
catch it on the other side.
I don't find this next point accurate. Four-way stop at West Neck Menantic dangerous. You can't see the traffic coming from Menantic?
Oh my God, it's not a four-way stop, but that is, we came out of that road today and just said, oh my God, I hate coming out of here.
Where?
On Menantic, right below, the stop at the top of West Neck, you have to inch around the,
Hedges there.
The hedges there are
to
right-
The house.
are right on the edge of the,
Airbnb.
Okay, all right.
Airbnb, the bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
it's terrible. The, sight line is non-existent.
So it's where West Neck comes out, is
Across the street from the Elm.
from the, and so West Neck's coming in, you're looking at the golf course and you're stopping
Well, it's
there.
before the golf course. So you're coming out of Menantic,
Yeah, oh,
there's the big house on the corner.
Oh, yeah.
oh, the top
No,
shop.
No, it's
No.
not. It's further down. Yeah, I know what you mean. That is tricky. Yeah, it's
West
where,
Neck and West Neck.
No.
no, it's where you start to get to 114. You're trying to.
Midway.
Yeah, you're trying to get to 114.
Midway in West Neck?
I think it's
Wait,
Midway.
Midway.
That's what, it's Midway. It's not,
Yeah, but you're coming out of Midway onto West Neck, and then there's.
it's hard to see there.
Yeah,
The hedge, you have
Yeah.
to pull
Four-way
out.
stop, I could see around that.
fine.
I
Gotta
can
know
too.
that.
That's fine there.
And people are pretty good
The
at
hill is actually not.
summer at stopping there.
One at the top of the hill.
Yeah, but the other top of the other hill, no, going towards, when you're coming, from Behringer,
Right.
and you have a stop sign, it's a T intersection, it's hard to see up that hill.
Yes,
That one has some interference as well. Well, this goes back to clearing the roadways
Right.
of these obstructions.
but the worst being right past your house, the curve on,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Beach.
Oh, gosh, yeah, that's,
Those two curves.
That's very, those are very dangerous.
foot too, if you're running.
Yeah, awful.
Yeah. You can't
When I
see,
come
it's
around that thing, I'm
completely
always
blind.
like taking a chance.
And the thing that kills me is when people are on the inside, up against the giant wall hedge on the blind
Yeah.
turn, and you're coming around the turn, no matter how slow you're going,
Yeah.
it scares the life out of you when there's a human there. It's very dangerous. Let's see. The four-way stop at West Neck and Menantic, because dangerous can't see.
that's what we just talked.
Okay. What's being done about Bridge Street or other areas for coastal flooding? So that we already have a plan to raise the roads. That's something that the Army Corps was working on. But, Bridge Street itself, there is no plan at the moment, I think, to raise Bridge Street. But that's going to continue flooding. And as sea level rises, it's going to continue to flood more frequently.
Right, it might not be, it might be
Something-
time for an orderly retreat.
And making New York Avenue one way the other way is not going to be very good if the Bridge Street's flooded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that's it,
Because then you're completely trapped.
yes.
You're gonna go through the golf course.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would
Maybe
be
we
the
should
only
improve
way.
that road.
Yeah,
By Good Hill.
That's the heights.
Dirt road.
yeah,
The heights of that.
yeah.
Yeah, the road by Goat Hill. I mean, because otherwise, those are your only 3 points of leaving the heights.
Well, that road is always washing out anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so steep right as it hits.
Okay. The correction was made that North Ferry is raised and extended 2 ramps, right?
Yeah, that was British.
And then we've corrected also that don't raise speed limits if you're gonna lower them.
Correct.
Right.
I got that one in there.
So LWRP, we just have to delve into it a little bit more when we get to that chapter. Okay? Because, this is another question about that.
Right. Passenger ferry, why is it needed? Who's going to pay for it? We already kind of discussed the passenger ferry.
Yeah.
And then where would the around the island jitney stop or wait? Studies needed for that. So we've kind of discussed the jitney. And then stormwater basins need to be properly designed and sized by a civil engineer and other debris. Yes, we agree with that.
During the leaf season, it's- with a lot of leaves fall, I mean, sometimes it's weekly they're on it,
Yeah,
not one, it's weekly.
Yeah.
all the leaves seem to come down at the exact same time this year.
Yeah.
1 week, they all just,
This past week.
just everywhere, leaves. All right, those are all the comments that we have for chapter 6.
Just all the red dots on the board, I don't remember.
That's a good point.
So
that?
those were for the launch service, all these
Okay,
red dots.
okay,
Yeah.
they're standing out here, so.
Yeah, and then there were a few little red dots for the around the island jitney. Some people didn't see a need for it. Then the other one is,
Improve roadway maintenance, develop a capital plan. There's 2 red dots on that.
Okay, so, okay, as long as we discuss them.
Yeah,
and
we
then the other one is to improve bicycle lanes. There's 1 red dot on the bicycle lane one. And,
1, road traffic.
yep,
Why would they be against having a capital plan?
money, because it's taxes.
Okay, fair enough.
And then the other one was to consider the island-wide speed limit of 30 miles per hour. There's 1 red dot on that one. They don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
So those are kind of and they're the ones that keep coming up. All right, so that's chapter 6.
So typically when they look at the speed, they look at the 85 percentile. And what people generally, drive on the road as being the appropriate speed.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, most of our roads are 35 miles per hour anyway, so dropping it 5 miles per hour, most people are still gonna go 35 or 40. I mean, that's kind of human nature.
Yeah, you typically drive to the condition of the road.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
So it's from the.
Yes. Anyone have a comment?
The only thing I could think of while we're sitting here today was, I wonder if our bidding power would help like the Heights or the Village, or maybe even some of the association roads in tonnage. It may help us in a way because tonnage would be up. We would be bidding a higher number. I don't know, that might be something to think about. Somehow making our bid available.
Right.
Mm.
The county couldn't use our bid. They can't go down. We could go up and use the county bid. But just something to think about. Maybe it would help them,
Yeah.
help us.
I think it would only be available to municipalities, but I'm just guessing on that. So the Village.
Right. Well, because I know that we had someone from the Heights ask if the town would start taking over Heights road maintenance. But that would be, we'd have to come to some kind of agreement, but it didn't seem like something that there was a lot of support for, even in Hilo itself. So it was just someone kind of asking the question.
Yeah.
I think they could actually force your hand there, though. If they went and improved all the roads and got them up to an engineered spec,
Yeah.
they could force your hand really to take them over.
Yeah. But that's pretty expensive
Yeah,
undertaking.
they don't have to bring them
Yeah.
up
It'd be
to,
a lot to get them up to code, up to
Mhm.
standard.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we should add to this chapter?
We're good.
Any questions or comments from the public? Stephen Jacobs? You're muted, Stephen.
Sorry. 2 quick comments. One, if the plan is going to encourage the use of e-bikes, I suggested at least recognize the risk of fire from, excuse me, lithium-ion batteries. As you may know, there have been quite a number, I think over 100 so far this year in the city, a number of them fatal. So it's, there are a bunch of issues in addition to just traffic issues with e-bikes. The other thing is in terms of the jitney, I think it's worth considering the pros and cons of making it available, particularly free to day trippers. That's all.
Thank you, Stephen. Lily?
I have a comment that somehow never got read in chapter 6, goal 6-4, the second paragraph there. it's also discussed as goal 8.1. I'd suggest that we delete this reference to, quote, develop and adopt a local waterfront revitalization plan. Because although it's mentioned here in terms of helping perhaps to regulate seaplane activities, it is also associated with land development, land use, waterfront development, such as potential marinas, and we really haven't discussed the program. So I prefer not to see something as broad as this and perhaps as consequential sneak into the document undiscussed. It's here under goal 6-4 and also in chapter 8, goal 8-1.
Thank you, Lily.
You're welcome.
Natasha?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to, my observation is that there were several issues discussed that I know are very contentious on the island among different people. You know, sidewalks, 30 mile per hour. Some of these issues are being very, discussed either constructively or less so by a lot of people. And I just would hope that there would be an opportunity for the public to weigh in on these at some point before this document is finalized.
Thank you. And Lily, we're going to discuss the waterfront revitalization plan in chapter 8 because it's more broadly discussed in that chapter. So when we get to that, then we're going to really dig into that.
Which might lead us to
Which may lead us to come back and
yeah, okay.
renovate
Yeah.
this
If
chapter.
they're linked, we'll
So
attend to that.
it's a work in progress. Anybody else? Pam?
Yeah. Hi, good evening. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving. I'm just curious about the seaplanes and not being further discussed in this chapter, and there's no mention of seaplanes in Cockles Harbor. I don't know why Cockles Harbor is left off the list on the transportation and seaplanes, but of course there are a few residents there that have been getting picked up by their homes on a weekend basis. And I just wonder why is the regulations on seaplanes gone to chapter 8 and not further discussed in this chapter on transportation, since it is a form of transportation and it doesn't really have anything to do with waterways. It's just that's the transportation. And I also see a lack of discussion on boat traffic and no studies on that being done.
Right, so there is, seaplanes are addressed in goal 6-4, and we discussed eliminating or limiting seaplane activity in all inland waters. So that would include Cockles Harbor, that would include West Neck, that would include a whole bunch of all the inside waters. So we did take that one into account in this chapter.
Doesn't that seem like that would be a code change of some sort and need some kind of enforcement then? It's not really a comprehensive plan issue?
It's both. You know, the comprehensive plan makes recommendations and sets goals for the town board, and then the town board would have to implement that and pass a code amendment to, restrict
Which would
plane
include a
use,
public
which would
hearing.
then include, then enforcement would also have to be worked into that. So this would be like the first step of making that change.
Okay. Can I just bring up one other odd comment that was made, that the comprehensive plan doesn't do studies? The comprehensive plan recommends that studies be done. I think part of an update to an existing comprehensive plan is that studies are being done in order to facilitate this update. I'm not sure. I mean, I see things in the economy chapter that you sort of skipped over and you thought you went through that say that, the data is not exactly, caution should be taken with this data. And I'm not really certain I understand what studies have been done, what studies will be done. We have a state environmental assessment on this plan coming up. And I'm just wondering what's backing up the data, what studies have been done, what have you looked at to get your data together in preparation for that assessment?
Well, we're using all the studies that have been done in the last 30 years. So we're going back and we're looking at things that have been done by the county and by the town. And we're looking at data from the police department with regards to speed limits and things like that. We're looking at the census. So we're looking at studies that have been done. And then we're recommending studies that need to be done because those studies need to be budgeted for. So the town board has to decide that that's a direction that they want to move in, and then they have to budget for it and, hire consultants and go through the whole process. So the comp plan is meant to set kind of some goals and guidelines for what studies we should, as a town, look into implementing. So that's kind of where we're at. And there's no budget for that. It's just not.
How it's
not
done, you'd
budgeted
never get a
for.
plan done.
Exactly. If you do all the studies before you complete the plan, you'll never have a plan.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else? Lily? You're muted, Lily. You're muted, Lily.
Some days you'll figure it out.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
I want to add to what Pam is saying. It's not exactly true. Plans often do studies, and planners, consultants are hired to do them. We've had 3 years to get a lot of studies done. We have hardly anything in transportation. So be very careful that you're saying it's not the job of the comprehensive plan. That's not really true at all.
I think it is.
You are saying it because it hasn't been done. I and others might say, we're not ready to make a set of recommendations or a comprehensive plan because we do not have data. That's all I want to add.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, well, since I have no further comments, Karen?
Hi, just a quick one, Karen Care. Speed bumps. Maybe I haven't heard anybody mention speed bumps in terms of solving what I call these speed trap streets like St. Mary's. I was over in Sagaponack today on Hedges Road, which is a beautiful bucolic neighborhood, as you probably all know. There must have been 8 speed bumps, and they were beautifully designed with white triangles leading up to the bump.
And they're the big wide ones, right? So it's kind of
Yes.
like you go up and.
Yes, and then a big sign, so I had to slow down. It would have been a perfect, road for me to speed on. So St. Mary's and some of our streets, I think speed bumps, particularly if somebody goes and looks at those, they're very well designed.
It's a good recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is the speed bump something we want to add to a traffic study for certain?
I would add
I would add that into that's part of the
Absolutely.
streets
Yeah.
evaluation.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, good.
Good to know. All right, so no further comments. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Our next meeting